Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest, reacting to the Toronto Raptors 123-114 win against the Oklahoma City Thunder, and this game, it was wild. It was a wild game. For most of this one is very, very positive for the Toronto Raptors. Lots of great things to take away from this game. Quarter 1, 2, 3, and overtime, the Toronto Raptors had a complete stranglehold on the Oklahoma City Thunder. But with the exception, the fourth quarter, the OKC really made that punch back with some other stuff happening, but we'll get into all of that after. But first, we got to swing into the comment of the day, eh? And tonight it's going to Cute Dog. Commented on the last video saying he had nothing bad to say about the Raptors. They played great team basketball, and Larry will be okay for the playoffs. He just needs some time to rest. And that sums up, I guess, tonight's game as well, because the Toronto Raptors, when they played as a team, they looked amazing. This is some of the best basketball I've ever seen Toronto Raptors play. With all the talent we have on the floor, we know this is the most talented team in Raptors history, and on top of that, we have guys just swinging the ball. Fred VanVleet being re-injected into this lineup has just up this team's chemistry. He's been doing a great job at just swinging the ball to the right people, and Marc Gasol being a consistent starter, I think that's where he needs to be, because we saw, especially in that first quarter, the ball was just moving so crisply. So I was just in awe watching this basketball being played. There's been points throughout the season where the offense has looked very isolation heavy, and I guess at the end of this game, especially in the fourth quarter, that was the case a good bit. But for the first three quarters, my God, if we play like that going in the playoffs, if that's because Nick Nurse has hinted at he hasn't really been implementing the playoff offense. More so, he's just been trying to get guys integrated, not trying to give up all of his secrets. You can listen to all the post-game, pre-game, post-practice interviews. That's what he's been kind of hinting at. And if the offense looks like this on a consistent basis, I don't know if there's a team out there that can really match that, really guard that type of offense. So it's very intriguing, but we'll get into the players right now because so many guys had great games. The first one we got to talk about, Pascal Siakam. 33 points for Pascal tonight, 13 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, a block, 5 turnovers, 5 fouls. That's a bit iffy, but the rest of his game, Pascal Siakam just steps up when we need him to step up. And, he missed a couple shots early in this one, and it was like, with Lowry out, we really need Siakam to play well. And he knew that, got the full run in the first quarter, and beasted. He was an absolute beast, getting straight to the rim. The shot's not falling, he keeps attacking. And Pascal Siakam is proving night in, night out why he's a true star in this NBA. While he's going to be the most improved player, he's going to be an all-star for seasons to come. Because his finishing around, it's almost unstoppable. It's almost unstoppable. He goes in there, if he has a guy that's incrementally shorter than him, he just automatically posts them up, does that little spin move, fade away, and hits it right off the glass. This beautiful little kind of floater spin shot. I don't know what to describe it as, but Pascal Siakam, his finishing around the rim, when he throws it up there, it's going in. It's going to tip somewhere off the glass, somewhere high up off the backboard, and go in every time. And the Oklahoma City Thunder played some great defense in this game. Leo was kind of bagging on them for being a step slow, but watching the game, I really didn't think so. Maybe for a stretch in the third quarter, but the Oklahoma City wanted to win this game. We saw that especially in the fourth. And they were guarding Pascal Siakam very tightly in the paint, body him up, and obviously for a big man, Pascal Siakam has a thinner frame, and to see him be able to play bully ball with the Jeremy Grants and the Steven Adams of the world, and even Paul George, who's one of the greatest on-ball defenders in the league right now, it's super encouraging. If he can keep this production up going in the playoffs and when Lowry's back, that's going to be great. Fred VanVleet, I mentioned him at the beginning of the podcast. Ever since he came back, he has been lights out. He's been lights out. He's been playing the basketball we want to see him play. There was a couple poor decisions maybe in the fourth quarter, a couple shots missed, but regardless, his whole around body of work in this game, 23 points for Fred VanVleet as a starting point guard, 6 assists, 2 steals, and he looks a lot more comfortable. Because the biggest issues we have with Fred VanVleet at the beginning of the season is just he kind of forced some stuff. We could tell he added some things to his game in the offseason. I guess he was trying to try them out. But it led to Fred almost forcing shots. Forcing shots, forcing passes, kind of forcing his game. When we just wanted to see steady Freddie. We want to see the guy that's going to knock down his open threes, get those mid-range jump shots, those floaters, not force those shots, especially where he's a smaller guy. Going in the paint, it's tough for him to shoot over 2 and 3 and 4 defenders. And aside from a possession here and there, his decision-making has just been awesome. He's back to playing the steady Freddy role we like to see, along with these newly acquired skills, a better skill set coming into the season that we know he brought in. And I think the best is yet to come from Fred VanVleet, because he did miss a few clutch shots tonight, but we all know his confidence. He plays best in the biggest of moments. We've seen him hit clutch shots in the past. He's not fazed by the bright lights, so I think it's coming at a perfect time, his stretch of games. I expect a huge playoffs from Fred VanVleet. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think Fred's going to really step it up in the playoffs? Because I think he will. Danny Green, he was another player that was lights out from three for most of this game, especially in the first half. Danny Green, when he's cooking, he's a true 3-and-D player. He locks up on defense the whole game, and consistently, he's having the best three-point shooting season of his career. I believe he's up there in the league in plus minus. 17 points for him, 5 threes, 6 assists, 5 rebounds. All around great game from Danny Green tonight. Marc Gasol, I brought his name up as well. Not the greatest box score game, 10 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists in 30 minutes of action. But the way he kind of neutralized Steven Adams, that was a great sight to be seen, because in the past, JV, I love JV. People of the podcast know I'm a huge fan of him. And he was great against guys like Joel Embiid and Al Horford, but when he played against Steven Adams, it was always a mess for the Toronto Raptors. Steven Adams really had JV's number, so it was kind of a nice change of pace to see the Toronto Raptors get the best of Steven Adams in one game, because he only had 4 points and 7 rebounds, and Gasol did a great job down there. He's very good in the grit and grind post-up area. He doesn't let these centers overpower him. Jonas doesn't either, but in the case of Steven Adams, he did. So shout out to Gasol. Really liked how he played tonight. And Kawhi Leonard. Not the most overwhelming game from our superstar. 22 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists. But he missed a few threes that would have been very helpful in the fourth quarter. 8 of 19 from the field. Not the worst shooting percentages. For most of the game, he kind of deferred to Fred and Siakam because of how well they were playing. And he was shooting a very high percentage for most of the game. And then he missed a lot of shots in the clutch, which was kind of unfortunate in the fourth quarter. The shots were just going in and out. So that's all you can do for these games. And we ended up pulling it out. He played very well in the overtime period despite the fourth quarter struggles. So he ended up pulling out the dub. He played great defense the whole game. So that's all you can really ask from our top guy when the shot isn't really falling at the end of this one. OG, only 14 minutes for OG, 6 points, solid game. Actually, I don't want to spoil a segment. I was about to get ahead of myself there, but Norman Powell, OG played pretty solid in his minutes. Norman Powell didn't really make the most of it. To be fair, he didn't force anything, which is great. He had 0 points, but he had 3 assists and 4 rebounds in 17 minutes. Obviously, like Norm to get a bucket or two, but if he's not forcing his game, I'm fine with Norm's performance tonight. Serge Ibaka, coming off the 3-game suspension, he played pretty solid. The first stint he got in the first half, he was pretty good. In the full game, he had 6 points and 9 rebounds. The second half, when he went in there, he wasn't super effective, so hopefully it's just some rust. He had a really nice block at the beginning of this one that led to a great transition play. I have full confidence Serge will be able to turn it around and adjust the bench role, because I think we're all in agreement, or that probably not. That's probably a overstatement, but I am in the mindset that Marc Gasol should be the starting center for this team. Let me know what you guys think. Should Ibaka or Gasol start? With a larger sample size, we've now seen a Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka in the starting units without one another. So yeah, I really like the way Marc Gasol plays with the starters, but it could be matchup dependent too, depending on who we play in the playoffs. And Jeremy Lin, he had one of his better games. Not the greatest shooting splits, but 6 points, no assists. I wasn't frustrated with the way Jeremy Lin played tonight. Just an average game, but we all know what Jeremy Lin is capable of, so maybe a little more for him would be nice, especially coming off a 20-point performance against the Knicks. But I have full faith, especially where he's had some up games now the past few ones. He'll be good when we need him. And the final player that got some run tonight, Patrick McCaw, only 5 minutes for him. I think Nick Nurse, we're going to see in the next few games, the rotation get really cut down. And honestly, we saw it tonight with McCaw only getting 5 minutes, Lin 15, Norm 17, OG 14 minutes. Usually those guys are around 20 to 25. That's the usual numbers I see in the box score, but I don't have keep a full stat. So I'm just going off the top of my head there. Regardless, it's going to be interesting to see what lineups are going to happen. As we inch closer to the playoffs, we're going to break all that stuff down more, but it's a little bit too early to see. We'll see what Nick Nurse does, who's performing down the stretch, what injuries we have, because obviously Kyle Lowry, he was out tonight. And yeah, the Toronto Raptors had a great game. I was really happy with it. We're going to swing it straight into the segments. Tonight, the Kawhi Doom like that play of the day. And tonight, we all saw the ball movement and all those sorts of plays. And honestly, it could have went to any one of those, but the ones I got to give it to, we're having multiple Kawhi Doom like that plays of the day. It's going to Pascal Siakam, just bullying people in the post. We all know how Oklahoma City is one of the best defense in the NBA, and he made them look like rag dolls. He was just pushing them straight underneath the rim, and he'd do that little spin off the glass. I love it when that happens. I love seeing that. It's so aesthetically pleasing to see Pascal Siakam with a little height advantage just completely bully his way in the lane. Everyone talks about when big men, when they're in the post, they like to fade away sometimes, and they don't like to really put their body into it. And especially in today's NBA with a lot of three-point shooting bigs, and the commentators are always talking about it. But Pascal Siakam, that's never the case with him. He never goes up soft. He always goes straight to his spot, that right side of the hoop, and he gets those buckets. So shout out to Pascal. Hopefully now he can use that spin and all that in the playoffs and maybe get some shots on the left-hand side, because in the playoffs you got the scouting report, so people will know that's his spot. But he's so quick and his handle's so tight, he'll probably be able to get there anyways. Regardless, not all plays can be the Kawhi Doom like that play of the day, and some just make you say, oh, jeez. And tonight, the OG's play of the day, it's going to OG himself. I mentioned he had a pretty solid game tonight, and there's a point where he caught the ball. He had a really nice cut going through the lane, and OG, he caught it kind of off balance, and then out of nowhere, he just rises up. It looked like some NBA Jam sort of stuff, because he didn't get a good set jump, and he just rose super high. I believe it was Nader who was guarding him, and he almost postered the crap out of him. I was saying OG's watching the game, and unfortunately the dunk didn't go down. There was called a foul, but OG, he's got some sneaky hops. I'd love to see him get a poster or two maybe in the playoffs, because that'll put the league on notice. In the Rising Stars game, he had that random 360 between the legs. He missed that one as well, but he gets up there. OG got those bunnies on his feet. He can rise up. And finally, the infamous, the one and only Damari Carroll Gold Star Award. And tonight, it's going to the fourth quarter. The Toronto Raptors, they went into sort of a shell of the way they were playing the rest of the game and how they inevitably played in overtime. They weren't really moving the ball like they were. It wasn't necessarily all ISOs, but it just wasn't moving as crisply as we saw for most of the game. The Thunder did pick up their defense, so we'll give credit where credit's due. And they missed a lot of shots. Kawhi missed a few open ones that we usually see him make. Fred VanVleet missed a lot of open shots, and for most of the game, he was on fire, especially in the first half. Fred had 3 threes, and he missed about 3 open ones, I want to say, in the fourth quarter. So that kind of sucked to watch. Danny Green really couldn't get his game going in the fourth. And yeah, the Toronto Raptors lost that quarter 32-18. Russell Westbrook did most of his damage there as well. Russell Westbrook had 42 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists. People say he, obviously his shooting splits have been a bit off this season, but he's nasty. Russell Westbrook is nasty. I know Paul George, they usually play better when he gets more shots, but obviously PG in foul trouble and all that. They needed Westbrook's game tonight. But regardless, with that poor fourth quarter, the Raptors, the rest of the game, phenomenal night. We all know how talented this team is on defense, and if we can just move that ball consistently on offense, this is playoff style basketball. This is how you play if you want wins in the playoffs. If we can do this, we'll be great. Anyways, you're the best for making this far. Check out the Twitter, the Instagram, all that cool stuff. Got a late pod tonight after a late game, so appreciate everyone listening to the pod, whether it's late at night tonight or tomorrow morning or whenever you listen to it. This could be a year from now, checking back an old Oklahoma City game. Anyways, I'm rambling long enough. Really appreciate all you guys. I'm signing off. Cheers.